Well, hello, YouTube. On today's episode of Know Your Rights, we are covering the trial of a retired Tampa, Florida police captain, 8 years in the making. If this sounds interesting to you, please take a moment and subscribe to our channel. Also, if you have a video you would like me to break down or a news story you would like me to cover, please send me an email at knowyourrightsnews@gmail.com. Now, let's take a deep dive into why it took so long for this retired police captain to face a jury of his peers. 8 years after fatally shooting a man who was texting in a Florida movie theater, a 79-year-old man is finally on trial this week. The trial of Curtis Reeves, who had pled guilty to the second-degree murder and aggravated battery in the January 2014 shooting of Chad Olson, began Monday with opening statements. According to Stephen Thompson, a spokesperson for Florida's 6th Judicial Circuit Court, a jury selection took place over 4 days last week, ending on Thursday. This case drew a lot of attention at the time of the incident, partly because the defendant claimed self-defense under Florida's Stand Your Ground law. That claim was ultimately denied by the court, who stated in 2017 that the law did not apply in this case after 2 weeks of pretrial testimony, requiring this matter to go to trial. Mr. Reeves initially was jailed without bond, but was released in July of 2014 after posting a $150,000 bond and agreeing to leave his house only for church, court, medical appointments, and grocery shopping. This trial comes after years of delays blamed on numerous motions, pre-trial hearings, and the COVID-19 pandemic. However, an attorney for Mr. Olson's wife, who was actually shot but survived, described the delays as embarrassing. The 8-year delay is, in my opinion, not only embarrassing, but only benefits Curtis Reeves because it allowed him to contribute to his family and remain at home with his loved ones, T.J. Grimley said in a statement. All the while, Miss Olson was left waiting for delay after delay to be resolved. According to Mrs. Olson, her husband was texting their daughter's babysitter when this incident took place. According to the criminal complaint, Mr. Reeves, then 71 at the time, confronted Mr. Olson about texting during the movie's previews. After complaining to a theater employee, Mr. Reeves went back and he clashed with Mr. Olson once again. According to the criminal complaint, Mr. Olson tossed a bag of popcorn at Mr. Reeves, prompting Mr. Reeves, a retired police captain, to pull out his handgun and fire, fatally wounding Mr. Olson, who was taken to a hospital and passed away. Nicole Olson, Mr. Olson's wife, was shot in the hand but survived. According to the defense, Mr. Olson allegedly tossed a cell phone at Mr. Reeves' head and was aggressively leaning over the chair towards him when the gunshot occurred. During a pre-trial motion hearing in 2017, Mr. Reeves testified that he felt Mr. Olson was ready to attack him, and that is where his justification in Stand Your Ground argument lies. Mr. Reeves claimed in court the prosecutors aired audio of him stating to the police shortly after the shooting, "It would have never happened if I had to do this all over again." However, there is no reset button in life. Prosecutors maintain that popcorn is not a weapon and that no witness said they saw Mr. Olson toss his cell phone at Mr. Reeves. In 2005, Florida became the first state in the nation to pass a Stand Your Ground law. This law, which was made famous during George Zimmerman's 2013 trial, permits citizens to use lethal force if they believe they are in danger of death or serious bodily damage. Mr. Zimmerman was actually acquitted in his trial. Defense attorneys in Mr. Reeves' case asked the judge to dismiss the second-degree murder accusation under the state's Stand Your Ground law, which would have given him immunity from prosecution. Judge Susan Barthley, on the other hand, questioned whether the defendant was acting in self-defense and denied the motion. He stated, "I cannot come to the conclusion that these circumstances are those what were envisioned by the lawmakers when they created the Stand Your Ground law." According to the National Conference of State Legislators, around half of the U.S. states have passed such laws as of May 2020. Some people, however, have opposed stand your ground laws, claiming that they incite violence, particularly against persons of color, and they lead to a spike in homicides. According to his wife, Mr. Olson worked as a financial analyst at Power Sports Vehicle Business in Port Richey, Florida, and he enjoyed riding dirt bikes and fishing. Mr. Olson had previously served in the United States Navy as an aviation maintenance administrator, petty officer second class, from 1990 till 1997, according to the U.S. Navy. Meanwhile, Nicole Olson's attorney said that the last 8 years have been very difficult for her since she had to manage being a single mother while simultaneously suffering the loss of her spouse. While going through the trial compels Mrs. Olson to relive circumstances she'd rather forget, she can't wait for the day when justice is done and Mr. Reeves is found guilty and he spends the remainder of his natural life in prison paying for his crimes. Well, YouTube, I hope you liked this video. If you would like to see more content like this video, please take a moment and subscribe to our channel. Until the next episode of Know Your Rights, stay safe out there.